Hello and welcome to another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show. I am your backup host, Cesar Hernandez. Lisa's a little busy, as I've made the joke earlier. I think it was a few podcasts before. He's Carlos Kameni and I'm Guillermo Ochoa. All right, so so today we have two guests. We have Tom Marshall, aka Mexico World Cup. How are you doing, Tom?
I'm all good, yeah. All good.
And then we have Johnny Rico. Oh, over, and you're still in San Diego, aren't you, Johnny?
Yep, still in San Diego. So, if he's coming in Euro Ochoa, does this make it a Copa del Rey show?
Yes, it is Copa.
A Copa ML?
We'll definitely be talking about the Copa. Maybe we'll bring up a little bit of the Copa del Rey at the end of the show. All right, so before getting into Liga MX, before getting into the Europeos, we're going to start this. The way I want to start the show from now on, I think it'd be kind of fun, is if we ask a trivia question, and it's gonna be
Taking
much more
control
fun. Taking control, man. And I'm okay with it this time because this time I'm not answering the question. All right. So.
Thank you for filling your name, sister.
All right. All right. So okay. So the question is: after Claudio Suarez, Pavel Pardo, and Torrado, which Mexican national team player has the most appearances? So this is number 4 in the all-time list, and I'll give you guys some options. So after Claudio Suarez, after Pavel Pardo and Torrado, is it Carlos Salcido? Is it Jorge Campos? Is it Ramon Ramirez? Or Luis Hernandez?
Can
Going
you list
for,
the options again? Can you list the options again?
So it's Carlos Salcido, Jorge Campos, Ramon Ramirez, and Luis Hernandez.
I'm going
It's a tough one.
Salcido.
I'm taking a wild guess here. Absolutely no knowledge to back up this guess, but I'm gonna go with Ramon Ramirez.
Ramirez. The answer is Jorge Campos.
Oh,
Nice.
They're all. I mean, I was a little unfair. All those guys are pretty. I think Luis Hernandez is the only one who isn't in the top 10. So I think he's like in the top 20. But that was a little unfair. But I would have been extremely impressed if either of you guys got it right. I probably would have gotten it wrong too.
should have a quiz one of these weeks.
Yeah.
In hindsight, it's always safer to choose the goalkeepers in those types of questions.
It's always safe to go with Jorge Campos as well. All right. All right. So let's go. Let's get into the weekend action. So the most recent stuff from the Liga MX. So I'll go with you, Johnny, first. So what stood out to you? What game? What moment? Which matchup stood out to you the most this weekend?
I'm gonna have to say the Chiapas FC versus Tijuana Xolos on Saturday night. If you look at the calendar, who would have thought that this game would be for the top of the league, top of the league match, with the draw, Chiapas ends up in 5th place, Tijuana in 2nd. If Tijuana would have won, they would have overtaken Cruz Azul at the top. So this is a surprising match, but a match surprising because it's so filled with quality.
Yeah.
Both sides are just playing outstanding football at the moment. They're in sync to what the players are in sync to what their manager wants, and they're producing a great show week in and week out.
And especially with a couple of those top goal scorers, Aviles Hurtado, who had a goal and assist that day, and then also you have Dairo Moreno. I was definitely pretty excited for the matchup.
Yeah, my cousin Aviles Hurtado. For those of you who don't know,
Your primo, I didn't know that.
I am Johnny Rico Aviles. You can see it on any of my social media. Yeah, no, both players are on fire. Aviles Hurtado got on the score sheet, gave Chiapas the lead. Moreno would have also gotten on the score sheet but a wrong offsides, canceled out what would have been his 5th goal of the season as well.
Yeah. It's amazing what Hurtado has done as well. It's a goal in every game now. That guy's on fire right now, and I know that Moreno isn't far behind. He's just 1 goal behind. But Hurtado it's extremely impressive what he's done for Chiapas so far. With at this rate, we're going to be seeing him score, let's say, 17 goals by the end of this season, right?
Yeah. It's, where is it? Yeah, I mean, I'm just checking this up now, but obviously with Mexico playing the Gold Cup and the Copa America in the summer, we've seen this influx now of like naturalized players. You look at someone like Hurtado. I don't know. I think before this season, nobody would have thought. I don't know if he's got a cap though. That's the thing for Colombia. Just checking it out quickly, but I mean, I think the door's going to be open to these kind of players. I mean, because he is Mexican. He is a Mexican citizen. I'm not saying that he'll definitely be in there, but I mean, I don't think it's a theme that definitely worth keeping an eye out for in coming months and years.
You're saying that there's a chance that he could be called up to the national team?
Yeah, I mean,
even though I thought Piojo recently, or it seemed like Piojo recently said that there aren't really any naturalized players. I mean, I guess this is before Hurtado started scoring, but I'm pretty sure he said recently there aren't any naturalized players that really stand out to him recently, and that they'd really have to step up this season.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. I think he was an outside case before this season, but I mean, right? I'll put it this way. He talked about Eduardo Herrera at Pumas.
Yeah.
I don't think personally he's national team material. If it's between Herrera and Hurtado, I mean, I don't think there's actually much in it. You know what I mean? And if Hurtado's the guy in form, then then it becomes a question of, I don't know. I just think there's going to be a lot of these names that are going to come out, and foreigners are going to have a couple of good seasons, and they're going to be in there. I mean, Jorginho at Tigres before he got injured. I mean, they were up there talking to him. I think there's going to be more and more. Look at Benedetto, for example. I don't know if he's actually Mexican yet, but very soon he will be. He'll be getting citizenship. He's not going to play for Argentina, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you've got a really good striker there. It's like Darwin Quintero. I think he's already been capped for Colombia, but if he hadn't, and I think he's only won a few caps, but if he hadn't, then I think he'd definitely be around the national team this summer. This summer especially, because there's 46 players going to be used. So.
Yeah. Benedetto would definitely be an exciting player. I don't know. I feel like it'd be a little bit of a stretch at this point to consider it an option, but maybe during the summer, maybe he'll be an option. I wouldn't mind having Benedetto after what he's been probably one of America's best players, and I think from the newcomers, I think he's the one who's transitioned the best over to America this season. But switching it over, I guess back to you, Tom. Tom, what game stood out to you this weekend? What matchup did you find most intriguing?
Well, I'm going to go for Leones Negros against Atlas, partly because I went, so it's easier to talk about. But I think it's the relegation situation that most, I think, stands out. I mean, I think that even on the show, me personally, I think us as well, I'm not sure about Johnny, but we talked about Leones Negros looking good in these first few weeks of the season. How it's unlikely that they're going to go down, that they seem to have enough firepower and stuff to stay in the league. And then that game on Sunday, they were outclassed. I mean, they were second best all over the field. Deservedly lost. It could have been by more goals, to be honest. And they didn't really fight either. I mean, they didn't have that fight in them. And it just made it seem extremely worrying from a Leones Negros point of view that they were that impotent against the local rivals. And you look at the table now; they're in last place. Puebla are obviously just above them, and then you've got Chivas 5 points ahead of Puebla. But I mean, I really think that let's not forget that as of right now, Leones Negros are the team that are going down. And if they don't start winning games, I mean, it's all right picking up draws here and there, but they've got to start winning games sooner or later. And I think that threat, we've kind of minimised the threat of Leones Negros going down. I don't know what you think about it. I mean, obviously, if they win a couple of games because of the fluctuation in the relegation table, they will quickly move up. But I mean, tell you what, if they play like they did on Sunday too often, then they won't be moving up very much.
Yeah. Johnny, did you get a chance to watch the game? What were your thoughts on the matchup or the relegation?
I didn't watch too much of the Leones Negros Atlas, but I will say this about Leones Negros: they're a bottom of the table team. They're fighting relegation, and it's expected for every few weeks for one of these bottom teams to have a bad game. That's kind of natural. But from what I've seen in the other games in Leones Negros, I still think they're good for another 3 to 4 wins throughout the remaining of the season, which I think will be enough to save them. The team that's involved in the relegation battle right now that I see very little hope for is Puebla. Puebla, they seem like they want to, but they just don't have the manpower to come up with points in any of their matches. And when Chivas drops points, that's when Puebla most needs to take advantage, and they were unable to, put anything together against Tigres. Tigres, who had all losses in their home field up to this game. They weren't outclassed. It was a typical Tigres easy win. Nothing spectacular, but Puebla couldn't put up much of a fight, and that's what tells me that Puebla is kind of the number one candidate to go down.
Yeah,
I think.
Go on, Cesar. Go first.
I would say in defense of Puebla, though, I don't think they've been playing very good soccer. But if you look at their last few games, they've had probably the past few weeks they've had one of the toughest schedules in the league. So they played against Puebla, they played against Cruz Azul, and then they played against America. And of their 5 matches, they've only had 2 home games. So I think I don't think they've been doing that well, but I think it's going to get a little bit easier for them as the season goes on.
Yeah, I mean, I think the next few weeks they've got Monterrey, who are horrible at the minute. Then they've got Morelia, who are the worst team, and then they've got Querétaro, Jaguares, and Chivas. You feel that the next 5 games for Puebla will define it all. I think they need to win 3 of those, and obviously if they can get that win against Chivas in 14th of March, then that'll be absolutely key. But they need to start scoring goals, and they need to start winning games. I mean, they almost sneaked to win against Tigres, but they didn't look like winning, did they? And at some point they're going to have to start winning games now. I mean, I don't know. The other thing as well, that we might as well mention it now, but Chivas on Friday, I thought that was abysmal. I mean, honestly, thought the performance was abysmal. I mean, the first shot on, not just on goal, the first shot from the whole team came in the 70th minute, and by that time Santos Laguna had 17. I mean, they were absolutely awful on Friday, and it's like you get the feeling that if Puebla can, if Leones Negros win a couple, and Puebla can also kind of decrease that gap to 3 points, and then when it becomes like a weak swinging difference, then I think all of a sudden, I think the pressure at Chivas is just unbelievable at the minute, just unbelievable. I mean, we saw, you probably saw on social media Nestor de la Torre when kind of Cubo Torres went down a bit easy, and he's like, "Si dejo Kyle," and he called him all sorts of names and stuff, and you can just see in his face there's so much pressure at Chivas, and I think that although on paper they look quite a good side, I mean, they're really, I think that the last 2 games, Pachuca, they got a lucky win for me, and then against Santos Laguna on Friday, they were again just second best all over.
It was just very, very defensive, wasn't it? I think that's something that we're going to have to expect for a little bit. I mean, Chepo being Chepo, he's not going to do anything too adventurous, and you could tell from the get-go that they were shooting for a 0-0. That is what it seemed like. I mean, throughout the whole time that I watched them, they were just shooting. Like Chepo was just shooting for a 0-0, and these things are going to happen, unfortunately, for Chivas, and it's going to be really unfortunate. And I don't know, it was definitely tough to watch that.
But I mean, I do get this idea that you're in the relegation fight, so you got to keep it tight and grind out results where you can. But I mean, comes a point where you're like, Chivas have got Angel Reina, Brizuela on the wings.
Well, Reina out for
Cubo
a few
Torres.
Weeks,
and then it's like you've got they're starting with all these players. They've got a decent defense. They've got a pretty decent team, and it's like you have to. I mean, I feel like the balance has gone too far towards just playing it for a 0-0. I mean, it was just like it was almost ridiculous, like the how defensive they set up, and it's like I don't know. I'm sure if you're a big Chivas fan, it's really not how you want to see them play at all. I mean, obviously it'll be justified if they're still in the division after this clausura, but that's still yet to be seen for me. I think there's a long way to go in this relegation battle, especially if Puebla in these next few weeks, like we were saying, can pick up a few points.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think Chivas has picked up on the fact that they have lifelines like Puebla and even Leones Negros who drop points, and I think they're just gonna ride out those lifelines. Eventually to safety, but it is a big risk.
Yeah, no, it is a huge risk, and I don't and like even some of the decisions on the field are a little questionable too. Like, and I've brought this up before, but I'm still trying to figure out. I know Chepo likes to using veterans and he likes to using tried and trusted players, but I don't understand why they would bring on Kubel and then bring him on, giving him like Chicharito like minutes at the last like 5-10 minutes of the match to see if he can somehow salvage anything for the squad. And going, I guess, somewhat of a tangent on Kubel, and then and then after him getting like almost no playing time for the team, then he's being showcased in Houston for the squad that he's going to be joining this summer, and I would imagine at this point he'd probably be so much more happy, being in Houston, getting all that attention, and he knows he's going to be a starter over there, and that can't help with the team's like motivation at all either.
With these supposedly star players and lack of playing time, that's the kind of thing that tells me that it was Nestor and maybe even Jorge Vergara who negotiated to have Kubo on the team without really consulting Chepo and what he wanted to the team. It reminds me from that scene on Moneyball where you have the GM just creating what he thinks is the best team without consulting the manager, and then the manager, he's gonna put on the lineup who he thinks is the best team, and it's not always in sync. So you can see that lack of communication there, which is odd having a set of brothers as the GM and manager.
Well, I don't know if that's too surprising that brothers wouldn't get along or wouldn't talk to each other, and I think that maybe they're just brothers being brothers now. All right, so I'll a little bit of a change of pace. So I'm gonna cut over to the game that stood out to me was Cruz Azul 1, Monterrey 0, and I'm not bringing it up because it was an exciting game. I think, and I wrote about this recently. I think Cruz Azul has been very, very boring to watch. It has been some of my least favorite games that I have watched so far this season. But I think what's important about them is the fact that they have yet to allow a goal this season, and that their defense has carried them. And in a time where, I don't know if you guys saw the report from Record Mexico, but they said that the Liga MX they're averaging just 2.16 goals a game. So if that trend were to continue, the Cruz Azul could continue to find success just playing defense, and it's and just like having Alamau that's randomly scoring or assisting a goal. Although the goal that he assisted to Chaco was beautiful, and I think that was Alamau's first decent game for Cruz Azul. But I think it's just interesting to note that that in the Liga MX right now, a team like Cruz Azul, who's just basically the best parts from their squad are just showing up in defense, and they're still finding a huge amount of success. I know. What are your guys' thoughts on Cruz Azul's current situation?
Jack and Johnny.
Oh, he's on mute.
There we go. I think defense is very underrated. You just look at what happened at America this offseason. They were one of the highest scoring teams, yet they wanted a more offensive presence.
Yeah.
But you look at Cruz Azul, they scored 3 goals, and those 3 goals have meant 11 points and good enough to be top of the table after 5 games. And I really do think the defense is underrated in this, not just this league, in this this day and age in soccer. Right? The same thing happened in Spain. Fabio Capello got fired from Real Madrid after 1 season because he didn't win the league pretty enough. So
yeah.
I applaud these teams that have good fundamentals. They have a good defensive base that their success is built off of. So good for Cruz Azul. Hopefully we get more teams thinking that way, and okay, it's not going to be the prettiest league, but it will be one of the most I'm losing my words here, but it'll be one of the most rich in fundamentals.
Yeah, and I think and the interesting thing to note too is I think late last year, maybe it's at random points like within the past few years, I thought that Massa was done with his career. I thought after him, giving the finger to the camera a while back, and in 2013, I thought he was just going to be done with the national team. But now, I mean, he had a good showing at the FIFA Club World Cup. He's been probably one of the best, not the best, maybe one of the best center backs, in the Liga MX right now. And it just brings him back into consideration for the Gold Cup or the Copa America this summer. And I genuinely thought that Massa would not be considered anymore, but he's still a leader. He's a huge presence as well. You forget how tall the guy is, too. Yeah. So it brings Massa back into consideration as defender for the national team.
No, yeah. I mean, I don't think he ever went away just because I don't think other people have stepped up. I think he's an absolute automatic starter still. Yeah. Just because of the lack of other people stepping up. I think there is a problem. Mexico have a problem in that defensive area. But in terms of Krul, I mean, look at the defense. They've got Cata Dominguez, Massa, and then in front of them, Herrero Torrado. I know people make fun of him on social media and stuff, but he is an absolute machine in there. If you want a player to, if you want a player to, shield your defense, then there's few better than Torrado, and that's why he's been so successful for so long. And then in goal you've got Jesus Corona, who again is pretty well. So you look at those kind of four players as your kind of base of your team, and it looks good, doesn't it? It looks very, very solid. Yeah. And then on top of that, obviously you've got to add the details on there. And I think when Rocky Santa Cruz comes back, they're going to be a lot better going forward. I think João Rojas has still got something. It's not like they haven't got anything going forward, but I think kind of Tena's just gone back to basics and been like, we had a terrible last season. We had a really poor Club World Cup. Now let's just absolutely go back to basics. Let's do the simple things right, and let's start picking up points. And by doing that, they're the top of the league. So, so the onus is on the other teams to kind of break them down. Yeah. And so far they just haven't. I mean, I think it's worth just mentioning Monterrey as well. I mean, if there's a prize for the biggest disappointment this season, I think they'd take it by a long way. I mean, you've got these players coming in like Carlona and Mejia and these Colombian guys, and they're just not. It's just not working. And let's see how long Barra can hold on to the coaching roles. Every week it seems there's like more and more rumours about he's going to be fired, and to be honest, it just doesn't look good for him. It looks like the players aren't kind of, I don't know. It doesn't look like a nice place to be right now.
It's definitely justified because I don't know what it is with Monterrey, but they have a huge amount of talent in that squad. But they just go out playing as if they don't really care, as if like the season's already over, as if they've somehow already found success, as if like the peak was them signing those awesome Colombians, and after that they just don't care anymore. It's really strange to watch just to see them in like the amount of space that like Cruz Azul was giving, that they were giving to Cruz Azul as well, was just really odd. And now I just keep thinking of what Johnny was saying, that he thinks that a certain coach who used to coach America and Xolos might be coming in at some point soon. John, do you still believe that?
Yeah, I think that's the only reason why Barra wasn't fired at the end of last season. I think that's the only reason he hasn't been fired so far this season. He's kind of just keeping the seat warm until Mohamed is good and ready to come back.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be the perfect fit. It'd be like the revenge, coming back for revenge, coming into a really good team. Monterrey should be really up there. And but the only thing is, I read something, and I'm not sure if it's true. I think someone tweeted me actually saying that. I mean, Mohamed obviously played for Monterrey, and I think he's got a good relationship with the fans up there. So that's another reason why it'd make a lot of sense. But there might be a problem with Mohamed and the directors there at Monterrey. I mean, I don't know. I've not investigated, but apparently there is some kind of problem which may hold up Mohamed eventually taking the coaching role. But I mean, he ticked the boxes. He'd make absolute sense, and I think for the league in general, I think it needs Mohamed. He's such a character and he's such a winner. I mean, to take Xolos to the title, looking back now, was unbelievable. It's an unbelievable feat. And then to go into America, and the pressure is under in those last few weeks. I mean, you really can't kind of, diminish it. I mean, it was unbelievable pressure with wasn't speaking to people within the club. But he got his team and he got the title, and it's like, I think Mexican game could they need a coach like him back.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And
know,
oh, Johnny, we're gonna say something. Go for it.
Yeah, I'm gonna double back a bit and about Cruz Azul. I will say that their great defensive posture that they've taken, I think that's good for a Super Liderato, top of the league at the end of the season. But I don't see it enough to win a championship, which is
you don't think anyone's broken it?
Which is what Cruz Azul, ultimately wants. Yes, I know they have Roque Santa Cruz, kind of getting ready to come on, recovering from an injury, but not all foreigners take to the Mexican league as quickly as we'd want them to. Some foreigners do, very few foreigners do, and some foreigners take the whole 6 months to kind of get used to Mexico, especially Mexico City, where it's in the altitude. How often has Roque Santa Cruz played in real altitude like Mexico City? So it's still a big if. Their defensive posture could take them to top of the league, which is going to raise expectations on them once the Liguilla starts. They're going to be under the weight of the pressure, and I think that's going to end up crushing Cruz Azul once again, and when it matters the most.
Interesting. Well, we'll see. I mean, I believe that Tena said that he might be good enough to play this weekend, but we shall see if he'll be on the roster for this weekend. So going on to the rest of the games, we'll quickly run through a few of the other matches, and guys, feel free to stand up if there's or stand up and just say something you feel that something should be brought up about the game. So stand up. There you go. So there was Morelia 2, America 2. What really stood out to me was the Picolín goal. That was ridiculous. Who would have thought that would have been the first goal of the game? And Benedetto, another thing that stood out to me is just that ridiculous shot. That could have been the goal of the weekend for me
when
he hit the crossbar in the second half. That was fantastic stuff.
I almost cried there.
You almost cried. All right. And then we have Veracruz 1, Querétaro 1. I didn't get a chance to watch that game, but it seems like most of the jokes on Twitter just involve, saying, Ronaldinho isn't moving at all. And I imagine for some odd reason that he was just sitting somewhere in an attacking midfield position and not even moving. But then he got that assist at the end of the game, so I guess he still had an impact in the match.
But I mean, it was a corner. I don't know. I think he will get that assist, but I mean, it's like I could probably swing it in a corner. You know what I mean? Probably not like Ronaldinho, but I mean, we could. I mean, it's only kicking a ball from a standing position. I mean, I don't know. It was a nice.
No running needed for a corner kick, right?
No, I mean, and also it's like the defender fell into the goalkeeper to leave the Querétaro.
That was so strange, wasn't it? The goalkeeper that was odd.
So I mean, I think Ronaldinho isn't working at the minute for Querétaro or for the league.
I will say this: Veracruz could have used those 2 points.
Yeah, big time. But I think the Ronaldinho thing's worth picking up on, because I think it was a big experiment. I think alongside Eusebio, he's to play in Mexico, just a genuine star. I thought that obviously he came into pre-season kind of 3 days before the season began. He's taken a long time to kind of reach his kind of full fitness. I mean, it's debatable what that is. The fitness coach at Querétaro reckons that he doesn't do any running. I think there's a lot of he's not done enough for me yet for Querétaro, and I think the most damning thing about Ronaldinho's time with Querétaro is that I think that they were better without him before he signed. Yeah. When he signed, they were in a playoff place. They were playing not the most pretty kind of football, but they were very attritional. They got the job done, and Nacho Ambriz had them playing, and they looked like an absolute team. Then you put Ronaldinho in there, who doesn't run. I mean, he plays as a centre forward. He just kind of hangs around. And it's I think he had the 6 most touches for the Querétaro team. Yeah. Now, if you've got Ronaldinho and he doesn't run, you need to play through him. and the team doesn't kind of suit him. You know what I mean? Independently of Ronaldinho's fitness and form, if you're going to have Ronaldinho, you need to play through him, and the team doesn't do that. Querétaro isn't set up to do that. It was more of a kind of counter-attacking team before Ronaldinho came, and now it's almost like a team in limbo. It's like lost its identity because of Ronaldinho.
You know, I will say this. I think Querétaro lost its identity when Camilo Zambeso went down. I think Zambeso was the one thing holding up this team. Despite Ronaldinho, I will agree, Ronaldinho's kind of been a weight to be carried. You know, doesn't really help out the team, but I think it was Zambeso who was, you know, kind of carrying that weight, that dead weight that Ronaldinho is.
Yeah, no, without doubt, without doubt.
No, I definitely agree. I think that, I don't know. I honestly don't think that Ronaldinho is going to get any better. I mean, I know I did say he had that assist, but I don't think the situation could get any better for him. And with those recent reports that we talked about of him literally not wanting to jog or not wanting to, run during practicing, that just doesn't look good for him. And he might soon fall out of favor with the fans if he hasn't already. And I don't think although I think the last game some guys still ran on the pitch and gave him a hug, but I don't know. I honestly don't think it's going to get any better for Ronaldinho.
It's things that it's the PR side of it as well. It's like he's not really done very well since he's been in Mexico. Yeah. I mean, it's like he comes back to training and late, and they don't know where he is, the club, and then he comes to Querétaro, he kind of checks in, and then he asks for special permission because of personal problems. But then he goes back to Brazil, and on New Year's Day, he takes himself a picture of 20 women in bikinis, and it's like, I mean, I don't know, maybe he has got personal problems. I'm not saying that if you're partying with 20 bikini-clad women, then you can't have personal problems, but it's not a good PR thing.
It's so endearing because all these girls felt so bad for him, It's so endearing because he was so emotional. He just wanted to talk for a little bit, That's all I wanted, just a little quick chat with 20 girls.
It's called therapy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, after the game on Friday, where did he go? He went to Cancun. You know what I mean? He went to Cancun and he's come back on Monday. I mean, he just doesn't look good. If you're a Querétaro fan, you're thinking, all right, come on, Ronaldinho now. You've had your little time. You've done your pre-season. Okay, time to play now. Time to play, Time to get us into these playoffs and have a real good run. And then it just doesn't look good that he goes to Cancun.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It might look funny, but even Cuauhtémoc Blanco is out there running.
Dude, Cuauhtémoc Blanco, every time he gets subbed into a game, he looks like he's already tired. He looks like the warm up just killed him every time.
But he does put in the effort.
Yeah, he's putting in the effort. All right, so moving on. Let's see.
I want to ask Johnny about America.
All right, let's hear it.
What's the deal, Johnny? You happy or not happy or?
Well, definitely not happy. This America that Matosas is trying to put together, this attack-happy America is, not working out, and I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but you need more stability. You need more midfield presence. You need better defensive presence. Mohamed had these same players, and he built a very stable team going forward. And that's not to say that Mohamed's team didn't score goals. The numbers are right there, second highest scoring offense. So you don't need all this flashiness to be offensive. I think Matosas, just like Cruz Azul, need to get back to basics.
I've mentioned this before. I think considering the talent that America has, and I think looking at Matosas, I think it's just a matter of time. I think those guys are going to start to work together pretty well. I think they're going to start fighting a little bit more, better ways to connect. And Benedetto's already there. He's already at the very best level for the team right now. And I think they're going to start fighting wins. It's going to be maybe it'll be in a week or two, but it'll be pretty soon for them. So let's see. I guess we covered Santos and Chivas a little bit. Anything else about Chivas you want to bring up?
No, just a nightmare, isn't it? Santos, yeah. I mean, I I like Santos, what they're doing. I like what they've obviously big change at the club with Quintero, Oribe Peralta before that, Osvaldo Sanchez leaving, Chato Rodriguez, big players, all of them, 4 massive players for the club, and I like what they've done now. I mean, they've got rid of them and they're still winning, and I think it's a bold statement from the club to keep Caixinha and to kind of put him in there to kind of reconstruct the team. So. I think they're a club with a bit more of a long-term vision, and I think it's a bit of a rarity in Mexico.
Yeah, and we'll be posting it up later. We did have a chat with Kim Tate, who currently works with Santos, and then the director of marketing. We'll be posting it as a separate podcast. We tried doing some stuff on YouTube, but it was a little confusing. But that'll just be an audio only podcast that we'll release later today. Hopefully, if Naive can get on it, because I have no clue how to deal with that. All right. So let's see. So let's go over to. Actually, we talked a little about Tigres and Puebla. So there is Pachuca 1 and Toluca 1. What stood out to me in that one was the young guys, Eric Gutierrez, Irving Lozano. It was. As we were talking about, there's some teams who play very defensive. There's some teams who focus on their defense, and there's nothing wrong with that. But Pachuca just had so much energy in that match, and it was definitely a lot of fun to watch those guys, running down the sidelines. It seems like they had an endless amount of energy. I think they should have had the win. They missed a few opportunities on net, but it was definitely fun watching those young guys, and it's something to consider too as potential options for the national team.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch the game. So I can't talk too much about it, but yeah, I agree. I think they're my favourite team, and I think it's for that very reason. The youngsters, especially Lozano, I think he's just on a different level at the minute. Yeah. And Gutierrez as well is very, very good. What I think they miss, I know it sounds really obvious, is Enner Valencia. I mean, he was the guy who finished off the moves from those wingers, and I don't know, that's Herman Cano. Not, he scored a lot of goals, I think, in Colombia, but I think he's still got a lot to prove me.
Yeah.
The Ener Valencia situation was pretty bad for Pachuca. Them as a club, what can you do? You can only let them go, wish them luck, and collect your fee. But where they did mess up is Avilés Hurtado. They had Avilés Hurtado last season in their ranks, and they just let him go. How much better would Pachuca right now be with a guy like Avilés Hurtado?
But then again, who really knew that Avilés Hurtado would be as good as he has been so far?
No. It's difficult. It's difficult for any of us to say, yeah, we knew it. But probably the one and only people that would know is the guys that see him train day in and day out, which would be Pachuca.
That's definitely
true. I think that the other thing about the Pachuca striking situation is they've got a kid who played for the Mexico under-20s at the CONCACAF Championship called Guillermo Martinez. Now, he absolutely was unbelievable last season in the under-20s tournament. I think he scored like 14 goals in 15 games. He was a top scorer. He's absolutely massive. He's pretty tall. He's like a different kind of type of striker that you'd like necessarily associate with Mexicans. You've already got Gutierrez. You've already got Dan Pizarro, Lozano. Why don't just go one step further? Instead of bringing in the Cano guy from South America, put the other guy in. Put Martinez in. Put in an absolute team that is going forward full of Mexican youngsters and see how it goes. I'd love to see him play. I think it'd be exciting. And for me, I think Pachuca at the minute, my favourite team to watch in the Liga MX. I enjoy putting him on. It's like Cruz Azul, sometimes like, oh man. Then, Pumas as well. For some reason, Pumas I find hard to put on as well, but, I always watch them on Sundays at noon. But, Pachuca are the opposite. It's like, oh, all right, nice one, Pachuca on. Yeah. I don't watch that. Yeah.
So speaking of Tom's favorite team, let's go over to Pumas' game. They lost 3-1 to Leon, and it was an exciting Leon, wasn't it? I don't know if you guys got a chance to catch the game, but I believe it was Naive who put on Twitter. He said that it was the Montes effect. He wasn't even playing for most of the match, but perhaps that was something that influenced the team. And Gallo Vasquez looked good. All the strikers looked really well. Sabah looked good. Boselli looked good. So do you think Do you guys think that there's any chance that they could potentially be a dark horse once again? With Montes potentially coming back in this surprising performance. What do you guys think, Johnny?
I did catch a bit of that game towards the end, and I don't know. The Leon is tricky. They have a brand new manager to the league. They could have just been taking advantage of a weak Pumas. But I'm not gonna be, the glass half empty kind of guy. They do have talent. They do have the motivation that Montes is back. Montes himself, I think, it's still gonna take him some time to pick up his rhythm. I don't expect the superstar Montes that was playing with the national team. I don't expect him to see him next weekend. But probably by the 11th, 12th week, you can start seeing some of the old Montes.
Yeah.
Leon, I think they make the playoffs, but I don't expect too much from them. Again, it's all because of their brand new manager. He is a quality manager, but he still needs to learn the league.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. I think they'll be fine, Leon. I think they'll be fine. I mean, I think if you look at the stats as well, I mean, they're starting to dominate games like they used to. I mean, in terms of shots on goal, shots, and in terms of possession. And I think once you're in that position, you're not going to win every week, but you've got a better chance. You've got a good chance of winning more than losing. I think that Leon, perhaps the few games earlier in the season they didn't quite get the look, and I think this time against Pumas they showed that. I think they're still a good team, and I think they're going to be. I think they'll be there or thereabouts for the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I think so too. I'm going to say that they sneak in once again at 8th place. Which would be kind of funny. How funny would that be if Cruz Azul was to finish once again in 1st place, and then Leon comes in 8th place, and they have to battle again in the playoffs?
I would take Leon as the favorites in that one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, is there anything else from the Liga MX that you guys wanted to talk about? Anything that stood out? Any players?
Refereeing, I mean, there's not point really dwelling on it, but it's just all over the press in Mexico, the refereeing, like a few errors again this weekend that were, fundamental in results. I mean, the Chivas one, the Santos Laguna goal was offside. I mean, Chivas can't really complain when they play like that. I mean, they deserve to lose.
And who was it from America that kicked Picolín? Who was it?
Quintero.
It was a Quintero, yeah, that's
Quintero.
right.
And then in the Veracruz game, the Querétaro goalkeeper kind of just studied, what's he called? Julio, what's he called? Forge, I think he is.
Julio
yeah,
Furch? You mean the striker from... Julio Furch is a striker from Veracruz.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, and he should have been red carded and it should have been a penalty, so, I don't know, it's just a bit boring though, I think. What's going on? Chiapas players not getting paid. It just looks really bad more than anything. But it's not the best run club. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Johnny, how about from you? Anything else to add about the Liga MX? Anything that stood out? Anything that didn't stand out? Anything underwhelmed?
No, well, I think everything worth talking about we have talked about in this past half hour.
And there you have it. We're ending the podcast right now, but we're not, because really quickly we're going to go
bonus material.
The bonus material. We're going to go over the Europeos. There wasn't anything that stood out too much of the Europeos. Real Sociedad without Carlos Vela tied Celta Vigo 1-1. Chicharito got, and it's. I was talking to Tom about this last time. It's sad when we get so excited about Chicharito getting 10, 15, 17 minutes.
I was about to say nothing noteworthy. Chicharito played. What you talking about?
Yeah, but that's not what I'm talking about. And I think that the fact that we get so excited about him playing 10 to 15 minutes highlights so much about how little he's playing. It almost reminds us about just like, oh, he's getting 5 minutes. You're like, oh, that's right. I'm getting excited about him getting 5 minutes. Like, what's wrong with me? Like,
now, if Raúl Jiménez would have gotten 5 minutes, that would have been huge headlines.
If Raúl Jiménez was on the bench, at least.
Another Malaga loss, I think it was. With,
yeah.
Some goalkeeping errors and Ochoa. Fine. Ochoa, bien gracias, ahí en la banca.
What else? Corona scored, didn't he?
Corona, yeah,
Twente.
yeah, it
And,
was.
Go on.
No, so it was against Excelsior. I love those Eredivisie team names. My favorite, as I mentioned before, is Go Ahead Eagles. I just love that. Go Ahead Eagles.
Sounds like my AYSO team names.
I might ask you, Johnny, at the end to give me before we end the podcast. Give me your best AYSO team name that you were a part of at the end. So figure it out. You got some time to think about it.
Guardado's out for 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's right. So, tell us about that.
Yeah, he's out for 2 weeks. You won't be playing.
Pulido still not playing.
My God, I can't believe the situation. Yeah.
I don't know.
So, and then we have Hector Herrera. He played 90 minutes for Porto in the 2-0 win. There's still nothing for Diego Reyes. I didn't see anything about him playing with the Porto B squad, and it just makes you think so much more. It just makes you really wish that he would have joined Anderlecht, which he was tied to, or just not tied to, but rumored to join over the winter.
No, makes you wish he never left Club America. He'd be a two-time champion now. He'd be getting regular minutes.
Yeah.
He'd be a
star. And then Layun, he played 89 minutes for Watford against Blackburn, and suddenly, people criticize Layun, and even I was a little skeptical, and I posted something online. I was just like, you know what, I was a little skeptical about him going to Granada, but I'm not so happy about him going to the Championship. But he's getting regular minutes. He's transitioned well to the team, and he seems to be one of the players who's having the best times right now over in Europe. While Chivas, wow, that was a weird Freudian slip. While Chicharito and Raul Jimenez, have done nothing on the bench. For arguably for some of the best squads, in the world. Layun's getting regular playing time. It's in the Championship, but I think it's still more important for him to be getting playing time, even if it is for a second division side in England.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, the Championship, it's got the highest attendances in Europe as a league. It's I've just come back from England. It's absolutely freezing. It's the atmosphere, the difference in kind of just everything that surrounds the game in England compared to it's just so different. Layun's coming from being the captain of Club America, playing in the Azteca every week, where everybody loves him, and he's thrown himself in at the deep end. And the Championship is incredibly difficult as a league. There's absolutely no prison. There's nowhere to hide. And if you don't have that mental strength, you're not going to do anything. And I think Layun, he's done really well. And you know what? At the end of the day, let's be honest about it. Mexican players, and we've just talked about the lack of minutes. Mexican players don't have the best reputation in Europe. I mean, let's admit it. And Layun went to a club where he was going to get minutes. And I tell you what, if he carries on like he is and can prove himself between now and the summer, that's what he needs to do. He needs to prove that he can play in Europe and he can put up with it. And the Championship isn't the worst place to do it. And I think after these 6 months up, you'd want him to kind of then move on to something more substantial. And
I think maybe it's because the Championship is it's an unknown league for a lot of people like us over here, in the U.S. or in Mexico. It's just not something that is given a lot of attention. In the U.S. maybe a little bit because some of the U.S. national team players who play in that league. But at least from a Mexico fan perspective, how many typical L3 fans or Liga MX fans watch Watford or watch Fulham?
Yeah.
It's just not. It's a little foreign to us. Maybe that's why we were a little skeptical.
Yeah. No, I think it's perfectly right to be skeptical, and I'd say that if Layun plays for the next 4 years in Watford, I'd say he's not reached his potential, because I think he is better than that. I mean, he's a very, very good player. But you've got to prove yourself first, and like I said, the conditions in England are so different that a Premier League team, it is difficult for him to come and pluck a Mexican outside from the league and take him to the Premier League. It is a big risk. It represents a risk, and I think what he's done is he showed some bravery in going to Watford, and I just don't like Herrera's kind of rhetoric about he's going to a second division. It's like, I mean, I don't know how much Herrera will know about that league, even as a national team manager. So I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna have to go.
You're gonna have to go? No, Tom, we're gonna keep you on for another 20 minutes. All right, so go just really quickly. So Guardado, he played. I believe it was 90 minutes for PSV. Right now, PSV is Guardado's almost guaranteed a title right now since PSV is like 12 points above the second place team right now in the Eredivisie. Gio and Jonah were subs for Villarreal. But I think they're going to be starting, I believe it's this Wednesday, because Villarreal are going to be playing against Barcelona in the Copa del Rey. So that'll be a massive game this Wednesday for Villarreal and the Dos Santos brothers. And other than that, yeah, Watford plays tomorrow against Brentford. Yeah, I don't know, unless there's anything else you guys want to add about the Europeos. No? All right. So before we leave, Johnny, really quickly, best AYSO team name that you were a part of.
You know, AYSO team names don't come to mind, but I will say this about a rec indoor soccer team that I played for. It has a little disturbing background story to it, but it was grass on the field.
Grass on the field. Well, if we're gonna say rec league team, I guess the last rec league team that I was a part of, but I quit last year just because I got a little busy with work. But we were called La Banca because, you know, for obvious reasons, because we're not that good.
Because of that.
Yeah, exactly.
When I played a youth team called Cock and Magpie.
Cock a what? Cock and Magpie.
Cock and Magpie. It was named after a pub.
Well, on that note,
before we leave the show, I do want to say shout out to the one listener or watcher that's on the chat from Poland. We have someone.
Right. We
have someone watching from Poland, so shout out to them. Thank you for watching.
Yeah. Let's see, Gregorix. I'm gonna butcher this. I'm sorry, Gregorix. That's probably how you pronounce it. Gregorix Idzkowski. He said, "I'm watching you from Poland. You are doing a great job." Thank you, Gregory.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not going to butcher it. I'm just going to leave it at Greg. Thanks, Greg.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. It's been a good show. Thanks to all of you guys who have been chatting inside. Sorry we didn't get a chance to chat with any of you guys, but thank you for taking some time out of your day, out of this excellent, beautiful day right now. I should go on a run or something. But thanks to you, Johnny. Thanks to you, Tom. Yeah, we'll be keep in contact. Also, be sure to go on iTunes. I was talking about this before with the guys, but go on iTunes and make sure to give us ratings. I think we only have 5 or 6 ratings right now, but I think they're all 5 stars. So go ahead, go over there, give us some more attention, and yeah, like Weasel says, keep the conversation going. All right, thanks, guys. I'll be seeing you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.